Brought to you by Dr. Greg Eckert. He's my dentist, and he would love to be yours. And, safe to say, busy week, busy weekend down on the 40 with all the things that are happening. Obviously, the lead is what's happening in Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow night with the women's Final Four. Quick turnaround for Texas. They won on Monday night, got back, flew out to Phoenix. They're there. They'll play the UCLA Bruins on Friday night, the second game for Vic Schaefer and company. I think there's today there's a media availability out there, so we'll hear from Vic and the Longhorns and the UCLA Bruins side. We'll have that for you tomorrow. But it's really just quick prep to get ready. It is the schedule. TV decides, and there are those within the college basketball industry on the women's side that aren't fans of the quick turnaround, whereas the men, they knew who was going as of the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and won't play till Saturday or Saturday for their Final Four. This is a 3 days in between Monday to Friday for Texas and South Carolina, who played the late game in Fort Worth on Monday night when they beat TCU. So both of those teams, but no, it is what it is. You're going to show up and play the biggest games of your year. All 4 1 seeds are there. The winners will play on Sunday for the national championship. So full preview there coming up. But also, Jack, don't sleep on this. Because it is Easter weekend, you've got softball and baseball series starting tonight, including biggest softball series is in the SEC is Texas #1 in the country. Just had that winning streak snapped by Texas A&M, but they won that series. Texas is #1 in the country. They're playing at Alabama starting tonight. Alabama's #4 in the country. So if you're looking for some high-level softball, you've got it tonight, tomorrow night. And by the way, that Saturday game, the third game of that series will be on Big ESPN, 5 o'clock on Saturday. Ahead of Easter. So 5 o'clock tonight, it's 6 o'clock at Tuscaloosa. #1 against #4. Biggest series on the men's side, Jack, on baseball side for the SEC. There's no doubt about that. It's not Texas at South Carolina. Texas plays at South Carolina. Texas is in first place at 7-2. South Carolina is in last place at 1-8. They're not very good. They fired their manager this year. Remember, Paul Maneri was at Notre Dame, then he was at LSU, and he's trying to resuscitate, get South Carolina back to the top. Well, he's been fired this year. And so they're off to a terrible start at South Carolina. So Texas wants to go in and take advantage of that because they go in as tied for first. Texas enters that series tonight with Ruger Riojas on the mound and his 5-0 record and his microscopic ERA. He'll take the ball for Coach Schloss, and as he does usually on the first game, whether it's Thursday or Friday. Texas is 7-2. The other two 7-2 teams, Jack, in the SEC through the first 3 weekends are #4 at Mississippi State, who've won 8 games in a row, and #4 Georgia. Or #5 Georgia's, #4 and #5, but they're both tied with Texas. They play this weekend at Starkville. Those games are going to be fantastic. So that's the biggest series in the SEC. In the baseball side, Mississippi State in Hale State there playing Georgia, the Bulldogs. Also, A&M plays Vanderbilt this weekend. LSU's at Tennessee. A couple of struggling teams that we thought are really good. Arkansas and Auburn have an important series for both of them. Ole Miss and Florida this weekend. But, man, that Texas, South Carolina, you'll be watching it for sure as a Longhorn fan. But that Georgia-Mississippi State series, big time. Big time. Mississippi State comes to Texas. Keep that in mind. Watch those Bulldogs. Right. They're coming to Austin first series in May. Mississippi State's really good. Ty Harrington and I yesterday recorded our new episode of our Talkin' Ball podcast presented by the law office of David J. Lopez, and he said Mississippi State's the closest thing to Texas in the SEC. Coach Harrington has seen Mississippi State up close. He said the two things about Mississippi State and Texas, they just have the fewest question marks. They have the fewest question marks. They're really good in a lot of phases. He thinks Texas and Mississippi State are the two best teams in the conference. Georgia wants to prove they're a part of that conversation, and they can do so this weekend. But Mississippi State and Texas will play later in the month while Texas takes on South Carolina. And, Jack, that's one of those series you just don't take lightly. You show up. If Texas handles their business and comes with their normal level of play at 24-4, they could sweep South Carolina. And that's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, if you made a list of teams in the SEC that you should sweep,
there's probably one.
Yeah.
Or it's Missouri.
Right.
And A&M swept Missouri last weekend.
Tough to sweep anybody, but if there's any team, it's this one.
By the way, we were talking yesterday about, you and I, Jack, about what Texas will do because Texas' next 2 series are on the road, and they're both on dirt fields, grass fields, whereas Texas plays on the full turf field. And Coach Harrington was telling us when he played for Coach Gus in the 80s, they used to bus over to Burger Center because they had turf in the 80s too. He said we used to bus over to Burger Center on the Yellow Dog to take ground balls because, and he said it was a treacherous, like playing on concrete. Might as well have been in the parking lot. And so Coach Harrington was so funny. He's like, hey, Coach, can we be done here? We're like dodging bullets. Can we just... We're going to play good. I promise you. We'll field the ball. But it is different playing on the Texas turf versus the clay and the dirt, the grass, and that's what they'll do at South Carolina tonight and at Texas A&M next week. Aggies play Vanderbilt this weekend, so back-to-back big series for the Longhorns. Fun series. All right, so there's baseball. But, that you were saying take them over where? To the Northwest Little League or Northwest Fields?
That's the best. Of all the fields that the AISD kids play on, that's the best one in terms of maintenance, I would say.
Well, it's funny because Texas actually left yesterday to get to South Carolina early so they could get there. They're probably going to do 2 run-throughs on the dirt just to get a feel for the field because, that'll come into effect. I mean, because you're shifting your infield anyhow for Texas with the injury to Adrian Rodriguez. So Tamo Becerra's moving to short, and you're going with probably Borba at third, Josh Livingston over at first. So all these things, you need to play a couple. So they got there early. They'll be over there at South Carolina, then at A&M the following weekend, which will be a lot of fun. All right, so there you go. There's some baseball. Football, 7 practices into the spring. Let's get some Steve Sarkisian up in here because he's had the assessment that so far through 7 practices, all the new players, 40 new players in essentially with the transfer portal, 40 or so out, that he's been excited to see the competitiveness of the spring so far. Remember, last year, Jack, they didn't have a spring practice. I mean, they just kind of did little mini camps type of things because they were coming off back-to-back runs to the semifinals and long seasons. Felt like they needed to get them off their feet a little bit and give them a little bit more rest. But they're having wrapped up their regular season back in December with the win or the regular season, then the bowl win over Michigan. They're having a very competitive first couple of weeks of spring.
It's a great start to the week, man. What a competitive practice today was, coming off of a really competitive practice on Tuesday. And I really commended the guys today for their competitive spirit. I mean, they're going after it. They're working really hard, which is a great sign in spring ball on practice number 7 that the work ethic is as high as it is right now and the competitive spirit is as high as it is. We've got plenty of work to go on, and we're still developing an identity of mental and physical toughness that's needed to persevere for the long haul. But 7 practices in, I've been pleased with where we're at. We're starting to get more and more guys back competing, and we're getting some guys that are learning how to fight through some of the bumps and bruises that football presents us. And again, I think that's the mental toughness side that our guys are starting to exude right now.
All right, so physical so far. It'll only get more physical towards the spring game. Arch Manning is out there. He's not in the team sessions, but he's in there throwing around, and people have been asking about Arch and the chemistry with the receivers because there are some new guys coming in. Sark was clear to say, and we'll hear him a little more in depth in the next hour at 7:30, talking about, Arch is out there. He's just not participating when they go to team 11-on-11, but he's out there in 7-on-7, throwing to Cam Coleman, throwing to Sterling Burkhalter, the new Wake Forest transfer. Emmett Mosley is back out there as well in the 7-on-7 side of things, but they are working it. But once you go full team, full 11-on-11, Arch comes off the field, and they let KJ Lacey, they let Diabell, the true freshman, handle the reps there and the transfer that they brought in. But Sark was also asked about because somebody said, can you have a bad spring and still be a factor in the fall? And Sark was very clear to say, look, y'all, this is the first phase of our offseason. This spring where we're implementing our culture, we're implementing all these new players, this is just the beginning for these guys of what and how this is going to roll out for them spring, summer, and then the practices of August. Here's Sark being very clear that this is a building process for the entire program, but certainly for every individual player.
Way to go. I mean, we're going to have 15 spring practices. We're going to essentially have 16 summer practices. And then we're going to have another 21 fall camp practices before we even get into game week to play a game. And so there's a lot of growth that happens over that time. Like, I'm going to meet with every player. Every position coach is going to meet with every player coming out of spring. And we're going to walk them through of, hey, here's the things you're doing well in the program right now. Here's the areas where we need you to improve. Whether that's physically in the weight room, whether that's schematically, whether that's fundamentally, and then now we need to then go apply that in the summer. And we look for guys making improvement, incremental growth all the way through. And I think that's the sign of a guy that's working and trying to get better and better and better. If I anointed guys after 7 days of spring ball, well, shoot, let's just pack the balls up and let's put everybody on ice and we'll wait till, Labor Day weekend. But it doesn't work like that. We're trying to get everybody better. And competition is the best way to fuel guys to know that, man, I have an opportunity. If I keep doing this the right way, I'm going to find a role in some way, shape, or form on this team. And then it's our job to reward them with that opportunity if they are doing things the right way.
All right, so stair step. That's interesting, Jack. 15. I mean, we don't think of it in that big picture, but Sark, obviously, the staff, they've already got the spring, summer, and fall laid out.
Yeah.
15 practices to the spring game, 16 practices in the summertime with the new rules and the ability. That's where you'll get anybody that's not already on campus in, the freshmen that aren't here, and plus Lawrence Seymour, the offensive guard that's coming in from Western Kentucky. And then, the 21. At that point, if you've got 31 practices under your belt, spring, summer, well, then fall camp, that's where you start to tinker. You're starting to really drill down on red zone, the finer points, which should allow you, even without free preseason games, to be hitting your stride and be ready to roll right when Texas State comes into town ahead of that big showdown with the Ohio State Buckeyes. But everyone has the same schedule, essentially. But I think that's interesting that an individual player who maybe has a rough first couple of weeks or spring can springboard himself right back into a contention for something come summer, come fall.
Yeah, that's right. And I appreciate what he was saying about anointing guys and packing them up and putting them on ice. What is spring practice for if not for these position battles, right?
Well, and the guys that cover this thing, all our buddies over at On Texas Football or Inside Texas, they want to write those stories. Oh, this guy's the guy. This is the dude. This guy's, we got a long way to go. But we got to guess who it's going to be. And who's going to come out on top. But at the same time, there's a process to that, especially with all these new players. I mean, there's so many new guys. As for Sark, he was also asked in the availability this week about pleasant surprises. Have there been guys that, have surprised you more than maybe you thought that have really stood out so far through the first couple of weeks?
I would say Sterling Bullcoulter, I know you referenced him earlier, but because, again, he wasn't the high-profile transfer brought in. But he's been doing things that have been very encouraging for us that I know probably isn't getting written about a ton, but on our end, very, very pleasant surprise there. I think the versatility of a Bo Masco has been encouraging to us. I think that Raheem Biles has been a guy that has exuded all of the player at linebacker. I had an idea we were going to get a flashy player. He had 3 pick sixes in his career at linebacker. He's a very good pass rusher. He's physical. He's smart. So Justin Cryer, another guy, like the dependability that he's been giving us at linebacker. Again, I don't know if those are surprises, but those things are encouraging to me right now. Melvin Sinai, I would say from where he was day 1 to where he is now at day 7, super encouraging to me. This guy keeps getting better. And that's a great sign for us.
All right, so to put some context, Jack, so Melvin Sinai is the right tackle that came from Wake Forest. The first guy you mentioned, Sterling Burkhalter, is the wide receiver that came from Wake Forest, who's in his 6th year of college football. And so Sark has talked about how dependable he is. He's 50-50 balls. He's a big, tall receiver that came in. Bo Masco is the corner, another veteran player coming in. He's got 4 years of experience at Rutgers, where he comes in and playing corner, nickel. He also mentioned Raheem Biles from Pittsburgh, another veteran player from the ACC. So not surprising, he's talking about veteran guys who have been to a lot of spring practices, played a lot of college football.
Yeah, and I like that for Sterling Burkhalter out of Wake Forest. That happens sometimes in scouting is you're like, well, we need offensive line help. Let's go look at Melvin, this big old dude that we're going to try and bring in. And then you start watching some film and you're like, oh, wait.
Well, who's
this guy that's also in the portal?
Who's this guy? Yeah, this guy's 6'4" out here making great plays. Let's talk to him too. Yeah, so that's where Texas is. And that's good to note because I've been calling Melvin Sinai Melvin Siani because that's how it's spelled. But Sark has now called him Melvin Sinai. So are we going with Sinai?
I'm waiting for they put out that media pronunciation guide.
Well, Sark is referring. He's calling him Sinai, and I've been calling
Siani.
And I've been calling Rasheem Biles. That's how it's spelled. He just called him Raheem Biles. I don't know. He could be wrong.
Maybe Sark's learning too.
Maybe Sark's learning.
Probably that. Right?
I don't know. You just want to be right. You just want to call
at the end of the day.
Maybe his mom's listening somewhere. The mom and dad are listening because they don't get a lot of Longhorn coverage wherever they're from. We want to get their name right. So.
Yeah, we had that debate all with Livingstone. And then it came out that it's Livingston, so now we can all call him Livingstone.
Thank you very much.
He's gone.
That's right. Parker? No, because there's a Livingston now. There's a Livingston now on the baseball team, right?
Right.
And Josh.